We are live out here at the Lad Peebles Stadium covering the Senior Bowl, although today we're not going to be able to witness practice because we're expecting a storm that's going to be pretty bad to roll in, and it's going to dump a ton of rain. So they wanted to they took the practices indoor to South Alabama, but we are not prepared to broadcast from there. So that's something that we could not do. And we like where we're at right now. This is a really good setup for us.
Look, we're the only ones holding down this fort. Other than us and the serious guys next
That's
door,
it. Yeah.
we're the only game in town at the stadium right now.
Yeah. No, but I like this setup better than anything we've done in a long, long time. I've done it here years ago. I did it when I was at QAM. I one year I did do it from the booth here. But this has been a lot of fun for us this week, and we'll take you here till the afternoon, like we always do, till about sometime around 2:00 your time, and then we'll check out. Well, we also will have a player after the first practice join us too, so that'll go on too here out here on the Senior Bowl. We'll see who we get. I know we're not going to get Justin Herbert. I can tell you that already. They told us that Justin is not doing any interviews whatsoever. He's going to do, I think, NFL Network and Sirius, and that's it, because he's going to talk to NFL teams. And so that also tells me that he doesn't want to get too flustered. Again, not buying that guy. I wanted to do a little comparison because I was noticing this yesterday. And there are two people in town that have a lot in common and are making the same kinds of impact professionally. In the win column, it's obviously a little different, and the situations are a little different too. But I really want to commend both of these guys. And I thought, yesterday when I was listening to Spo and he was addressing Jimmy and talking about how Jimmy is their kind of crazy and how he's also been the guy that understands that they need to develop the roster and that he's the guy that is facilitating. He's the guy that is encouraging and instilling confidence in all these young guys because you've seen it with Jimmy from day one. He's been the guy that's embraced Tyler Hero and helped all these other guys grow and Kendrick Nunn and all of that stuff. And he shows a lot of confidence in those guys. Do you realize
his relationship with him and Draj?
Yeah.
And Draj is an all-star but we're teammates. I need you.
Do you realize this, that Jimmy Butler and Ryan Fitzpatrick have a ton in common in that sense? Because look at what Jimmy's meant to the development of the team and the young guys, right? The veteran, the leadership, the experience, the knowledge, all that stuff he has shared with them. Ryan Fitzpatrick, it's the same thing. While Ryan Fitzpatrick is not a franchise quarterback, he is a guy that's got a world of experience, right? And, one of the things, I'll tell you from the get-go, I was wrong on this, that, I thought, no big deal. You just bring him in. He's just stopgap and, until Rosen's ready, and then you throw him in there, and then you'll forget about Fitzpatrick. And I was wrong. I was short-sighted about all of this. And there was a lot more to this. And he ends up being the guy that connects with everybody from linemen to the defense to, of course, all of the offensive players, and even to Rosen to a certain extent. Rosen has been, really complimentary and talked about how much, Ryan has meant to him and connected with him. But Rosen clearly is not ready. And Rosen wasn't ready to help this team develop Devontae Parker and develop Mike Gesicki and connect with Allen Hurns and everything else that happened this year on this football team and Preston Williams and so on and so forth. And so he wasn't ready to do that at the NFL level. And it's really interesting how Fitzpatrick and Jimmy Butler are doing a lot of the same things for their franchises respectfully, and how much they mean foundationally to what their futures are. Because let's be honest, when Tyler Hero reaches his peak, and so does Duncan, and so does Kendrick, and maybe even Carlos Silva if he sticks around and grows, Jimmy Butler is going to be retired. You know? And so when Preston Williams, if he does take that next step and becomes that player, Fitzpatrick is not going to be his quarterback. And there's a lot of selflessness that goes on, because the Jimmy Butlers of the world could easily come in and say, now I'm taking the final shot. I'm the guy. It's my stats. It's my check. It's my reputation on the line. And he turns it that way. Instead of saying, which I think Jimmy Butler has actually, his reputation has grown here in Miami compared to other spots where it was more of a combative situation with certain things. Here, he's kind of run into the same people that are wired like him, so he's allowed to be himself. And guess what? He's actually flourished as a leader here compared to other places, because they think like him and they demand the same, and so then the players that are here under him all get it. Ryan Fitzpatrick, the same thing. Obviously, he and Flores connected. Obviously, Flores and Chris Greer and the entire staff respect what Fitzpatrick means to them every single day. And then it has translated to the players under him. And I thought there were interesting parallels last night when I heard Spo talk about that. It immediately made me think of Ryan Fitzpatrick, and I'm going, I know there are different players, and I know that you could say Jimmy Butler, and it's a fact. Jimmy Butler has accomplished more than Ryan Fitzpatrick, is a better player in his sport than Ryan Fitzpatrick ever has been. I get all of that. But when it comes to leadership, when it comes to development, when it comes to being a team player.
Selfless.
Yeah, selfless.
Selfless.
There's a lot in common between those two guys. And I found that to be a really, really cool thing overall. All right, 786-322-1105 if you want to get in on the program. We do want to remind you that Craig Zinn's, Acura of Pembroke Pines, the finest dealership in the business, baby. And guess what? We'll be there on Saturday broadcasting live. And they got some great deals on 2020 models. The ILX is $209. The TLX is $249. The RDX $339. The MDX $349. Only $29.99. Do it signing plus tax tag and registration. I've been telling you about them for 9 years now, folks. And why? Because that's the place you can trust when you want to buy or lease a vehicle. I wouldn't send you anywhere else. If you're looking for an Acura, there is no better dealership. They are a top 5 dealership in the country, folks. Number 1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Get on down to 15601 Pines Boulevard, just off of I-75 in Pines. Tell them that Big O sent you, and I promise you they're going to take care of you at Craig Zinn's, Acura of Pembroke Pines. All right. Couple things I want to get to here on the program. I got so many things that I want to talk about on the show. Yesterday, an arrest warrant was issued for Antonio Brown, and I tell you, that's where it's where it gets ugly, because Antonio got away the last 24 hours after the incident with the truck driver by hiding inside his house and not answering the door and not answering the phones or whatever, and he can do that. Now an arrest warrant has been issued. Now they can go find him. Now they can actually go into that house, get a search warrant, and go arrest him. His trainer was already arrested. Now this story, we got more of the details yesterday, which it just gets ugly.
So he's a fugitive from the law.
Yes, he is a fugitive now. And I don't know if he's in a bathroom right now dyeing his hair and shaving his beard like Harrison Ford, but whatever. We'll see. I don't know if he's going to break into the Cook County Hospital to try to get some records. of a one-armed man that is, really
The reason for all
the
of
reason for all of this. So when it comes to Antonio Brown, this story got, really ugly, right? So apparently his trainer assaults the truck driver, takes the keys from him, right? And then Antonio and his boys start unloading the truck because he owed them $4,000. Problem is he threw a rock at the truck, causing damage because the guy left because he didn't have he refused to pay. Antonio Brown, obviously, that's a dude. I got to tell you, Antonio Brown must be like some radio owners that, make all kinds of promises and never pay people. That he must be a radio owner because he must be in our business since he is bad at paying people. And so he owed $4,000 for the shipment of his goods. He refused to pay. Driver leaves. So they call the company apparently, and then the company and Antonio Brown agree that Antonio will give them $48.50 now to cover the $850 he caused to the damage of the truck. So the driver gets back to the house again where AB is at. And they refuse to pay the $850. They give him the $4,000. He's like, no, dude, you got to give me $48.50. You got to pay for the damage before you can get your goods. So they jump the driver and get into the cab, take the keys. They scuff up the driver too. He has scratches, all kinds of stuff. Obviously, they were holding him down while they were taking the keys away from him. And they start unloading the truck and taking the stuff. Meanwhile, he and his boys are taking stuff that is not only AB's, but it's somebody else's on that truck. And they're damaging that stuff because the driver's saying, hey, you're taking things that aren't yours. Okay, these are somebody, and they start throwing it back in and obviously cause more damage. So this lawsuit is becoming bigger and bigger by the moment. His problems are becoming bigger and bigger by the moment. Okay? And so now, after everything, he locks himself inside the house. The trainer gets arrested, and now there's a arrest warrant issued. And no bond is set on that arrest warrant at the moment. I don't know if they're going to have to Baker Act his ass. I think they should, because there's no doubt that he is crazy. All right? There's no other way of spinning this. He is not right in the head. That's the only way to look at Antonio Brown at this point. It's sad. All right, I'm not trying to make light of this in any way, shape, or form. I mean, I think it's going to be a sad story when it's all said and done. But the fact that Glenn Holt is getting arrested, this guy's got an arrest warrant, and he still can't figure things out. It's pretty scary. It's pretty scary that it tells you how mentally unstable he is, that he doesn't have the common sense to realize the trouble he is causing, the trouble he is in, and he doesn't stop the bleeding. He continues to compound the problem by committing more infractions. Any of us with common sense, you get to a point where you say, I've got to stop this. I'm creating a lot of problems for myself, and I've got to get out of this issue. I mean, he's going to end up in a mental ward when it's all said and done. And by the way, remember we've talked about this. He doesn't have anybody that actually loves him that can watch after him. So if it ends up the state is watching after your stuff, that's not good, dude. You don't want to get to the point where how do you pronounce it? You're a ward of the state or something like that. Is that the right way of phrasing it or whatever? But I mean that's scary. You have to wait till they determine that you're sane, and then and what they're doing with your money. And this is a guy that will end up broke, guaranteed. And it almost, remember we read that Delonte West story. It's almost like he's headed in that Delonte West direction where you end up broke and homeless and you're talking to walls and you're refusing help. And that's what's going on with Delonte West, that he is homeless and he lost everything, and the guy is obviously not right of his mind, and he refuses help. That is a screwed up situation. All right, 786-322-1105. All right, let's do this. I've talked for 90 minutes straight pretty much. I maybe took a 2-minute break or a 3-minute break, a 4-minute break here in the last 90 minutes. I'm going to take a little break here real quick. I got to go to the little boys' room real quick, and then we will come back, and we will continue our conversation. I got some NFL talk that I want to get into. I want to get into some Senior Bowl talk also, some of the players out here. We've got a rift going on between a couple of former NFLers. We've got some thoughts on the Kansas State situation and the Big 12 coming down. We've got a crazy mascot. We've got a frustrated NFL quarterback. We've got a basketball team that is, I don't know why they're thinking of this as an option. I mean, I got so many things I want to talk about. NBA picks. I don't know. Do I have enough time? Even without commercial breaks?
We might leave stuff on the floor like we usually do.
That's without commercial. That's without a half-hour commercial breaks inside an hour, okay? Like the normal radio that, you guys are listening to less and less and less and less every single day. Yeah.
If we've put everything we do on radio, we would be about a day or two behind.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
To be able to get it all up and on.
Yeah.
And we can't have that.
No.
We need to stay current and on the point in the moment.
Yes, definitely. And then, so lots of stuff. Hey, man, when they make movies, lots of stuff ends up on the cutting room floor, bro. That's just the way it is. And that's the way I've always done radio. I over-prepare. I've always over-prepared. And over the years, my producers have always said, man, we didn't talk about this. We didn't talk about that. And I go, yeah, that's
little update for you there, sir. Scroll up from my send and see. No, down. Go.
Down.
Yeah, see what she started with. So you can give everybody a heads up of what they have to look forward to.
Okay. All right. So we may be able to get somebody today, right? A couple days today. Well, tomorrow, I'm not worried about tomorrow because tomorrow's a walkthrough type deal. We're not here anyways. We're gone already.
But if we're going to do what we're going to try to do, we're not going to talk about it yet. But we may, if we can get somebody. What the heck?
Yeah, that'll be great. That'll be great if we can do it, and hopefully it'll work out. But let's do this. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back on the other side. If you want to get in, you could chime in on the YouTube chat board. Remember to give us the thumbs up on the YouTube chat board, okay? And subscribe. Tell everybody to subscribe and get us to 1,000. We're under 100 already. We're well over 900 now followers. Let me see where we're at now. I'll tell you right now. I'll give you a fresh number here. We are at 919. We only need 81 now to get to 1,000, which is just absolutely awesome. So we're getting closer and closer and closer to that.
Tell your neighbor. Number. Tell your neighbor to subscribe.
Yes, sir. And remember, the show is proudly brought to you by Toyota of Hollywood. We'll be there on Sunday, broadcasting live from 11 to 3, like we normally do on Thursdays. But we're here today, Thursday, in Mobile, Alabama. So we cannot be at Toyota of Hollywood. We will be at Toyota of Hollywood on Sunday. So come on by. If you're off on Sunday, you live or work or hang out in that Hollywood area, 1841 North State Road 7, come on out. 400,000 square feet. We were right at the dead center entrance when you come in the main entrance to Toyota of Hollywood. We're right there on the left side. You cannot miss us. They've got all kinds of great deals going on. #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States when it comes to Toyotas. Nobody better. They're open till midnight. They've got all kinds of great plans like making your payments until 2021, 0% financing for 72 months. Are you looking for a Highlander? How about a 2019 pre-owned Highlander? Not 30,000. No. 27.75, bro. You got to get on down to 1841 North State Road 7. It's Toyota of Hollywood. We are ready to rock out here. It's we're filling up hour number 2 already of the program. almost done with hour number 2 here on the show. Justin Herbert, by the way, is he's actually played well here this week. And it's one of those things that it was kind of expected that he would throw well here and look good. Now, the footwork has been a little inconsistent at times, but the arm has been on display. And here's a guy that I'm not a fan of. We've talked about this before. But if a team is convinced that he will mature, then they're going to be intoxicated by the. I got to tell you, physically, he's probably the best quarterback that there is in the draft. When you talk about size and arm and athleticism, he's number one in all of those kind of tangibles. Now, the intangibles, the leadership, the maturity, the success, the big games, the big moments, Joe Burrow's got more of those, way more, and Tua does too. You know what I'm saying? So there are going to be
Jalen Hurts does.
Yeah,
also.
Some of these guys may be more decorated than him, more accomplished than him. The question is, do you think he has that it factor that he is going to take that next step? And that's the part that I kind of question. Jordan Love has had a good week so far. I'll get the reports today from some of my guys on how he threw today, and they'll give me the insight. But I really like what he did in the second day yesterday. I thought he made several good. I thought the Gordon kid actually had a couple decent throws too, Anthony Gordon. But I really like what Jordan Love did. Now, there are some obvious moments where he misses. Okay, so it's not like a sure thing in there. You know what I'm saying? Michael Pittman Jr., another guy, a wide receiver out of USC. Size, speed, has shown good hands. That's another guy that I know wide receiver isn't a top priority for the Dolphins. But again, if you're in the draft and you're at a point where a really good receiver falls to you at that spot, you got to take him. If you can, take him. There's no doubt in my mind that you got to find a way to take him. So yeah, that's going to become an option. But so several guys here, Eno Benjamin, Arizona State, I think it is, right? A guy that has caught the ball really well here, got a lot of speed and a terrific. He had to kind of show that he can catch the ball on a consistent basis, and he's been doing it here this week at the Senior Bowl. Another guy that's kind of caught eyes. You know, there've been a couple of dudes out here that have been shining, as they say. If you want to get in on the program, it's really simple. 786-322-1105. That's 786-322-1105. If you want to get in on the program, as we take you, of course, till about 2 o'clock here. We're coming to you live from Ladd Peebles Stadium, site of the Senior Bowl. And we've been here all week covering the Senior Bowl. This will be our final day here at the Senior Bowl. Let me see what we got here on the chat board. Big O, you mentioned Pat White. Was he ahead of his time or just bad? Just bad. I think I put there for you. That was a mistake by Parcells. Let's see what else. Antonio, get help. Big O, Antonio Brown needs to listen to some Johnny Cash. Don't bring your guns to town, Brown. Don't bring your guns to town. He is, I don't know if he'll listen to anybody. You know, that's the thing. I don't think he'll listen to anybody. And that's why he is lost where he's at right now, Antonio Brown. That's why he's at the spot that he's at. Let me ask you guys something. This is interesting. There's a story out now. I don't know if you guys saw this, but Larry Fitzgerald obviously has been a monster there, an incredible superstar and a leader and a franchise player for the Arizona Cardinals for a long, long time. Well, he is now part owner of the Phoenix Suns. The wide receiver purchased a minority stake in the Phoenix Suns, according to Adam Schefter. Now, I mention this because there's another story about the Packers quarterback who about a year and a half ago, right, he purchased some interest in the Milwaukee Bucks. And I wanted to mention this because one of the things that hit me is, are you watching football or basketball players invest in baseball? Just think about that. It's interesting because we just had this conversation about baseball and how they don't get it and how their sport is just going downhill. And the whole thing with, voting Jeter 100% or not is not going to help your sport anyway. But my point is, they don't get it at all levels in baseball. Players don't. The players are do you realize that baseball players remind me a lot of football players in one sense? Baseball players that are currently playing the game, they are short-sighted. They don't see anything that's not in front of their eyes. And they know they're making their money right now and it's guaranteed, and that's all they care about. They don't care about the future of the game. They don't care that there are less fans in the stands every year. They don't care that there are less viewers watching your sport every single year. They don't care that the interest in the World Series declines every year. Why? Because they get their money. This is why the NFLPA gets their ass handed to them by the owners every single CBA. Why? Players, you start explaining to them the betterment of the game for 10 years and 20 years down the line, and for other players, they're like, dude, I'm only here for 3.5, 4 years. Because like 80% of the league is around for 3, 4 years. It's a small percentage of players that are sticking around for 7, 8, 10, 12 years. Those guys are thinking big picture because they've been around big picture. The other guys, I just want to get my money right now and get the hell out. Short-sighted. They're not willing to sacrifice down the road. And baseball doesn't do any of that. Players in basketball, football, and in soccer, they are on social media. They are constantly selling their sports. They're in commercials all over the place. They're doing interviews. They're on whatever, celebrity networks, sports networks. They're all over the place. They're out with models and IG models and porn stars, and it's just they're making headlines all over. Baseball players, nothing. They don't sell their sport. They're not really on social media. And I'm talking about in general. Maybe there's 1 or 2 baseball players that actually do some, but I'm talking about this is the league in basketball. This is the league in soccer, worldwide, locally, whatever. This is what they do in football. This is how they live their lives. They sell the sport. And then when it comes to football guys looking for an investment, who's investing in baseball? And by the way, that short-sighted approach falls in baseball to the seam heads because they just look at the current money that's there and they think, oh, no, it's flourishing. No, it's not. This is the last collective bargaining agreement. Wait till the next one. It cannot get bigger when everything else is declining. Interest, attendance, and viewership. You have to forecast these things. You can't be in the moment. That's the problem. And in baseball, everything is about in the moment. even some of their fans are still living in the moment, thinking that it's, prospering or something, and it's not. Because you look at the basic numbers, you think you are. You start looking at what the forecast is, and it's an ugly one for baseball. But I saw that with Fitz investing in the Suns, and I know that Rodgers had done it before, and it was like basketball and football. That's where it's at. Soccer's next. Like I've said before, when we get to the 30s, baseball will be number 4 in this country. Okay? We're now in the 2020s. This is where soccer's already exploded. International soccer is a force in this country. Young people love watching international soccer way more than baseball. Okay? MLS will now grow in the next 10 years, and MLS and soccer international will become the 3rd sport in this country. Because in another 10 years, you have that generation dying out that loves baseball. And all the young kids, they're growing up to love football, basketball, and soccer, not baseball. And that hit me yesterday when I saw that here's a football player investing in basketball. And it's not Rodgers or Fitz making these decisions for them. They might make the final decision, but it's their agent and their investor saying, here's where you should put your money. Because they're forecasting. Basketball is an international sport. It's the number 2 sport in the world. They're not telling them to invest in hockey or in baseball. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if there are players now starting to invest in the MLS when it's all said and done. So just a note there. When I saw that, it just kind of clicked that it's just another sign of why baseball is completely lost as a sport and just doesn't get it. New York City Sports says, hey, Big O, where do you stand on the Eli Manning Hall of Famer debate? I'm glad you brought that up. Let's talk a little bit about that. Eli Manning is going to retire, which is a great call on his part because he really didn't have options. And what he was going to end up doing, it's beneath him. Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer in my book. He helped win 2 Super Bowls. He played at the highest level that you can play in the biggest game of your career. Eli Manning has made some of the most clutch throws in the history of the Super Bowl. I know David Tyree got it trapped in the mask, but he's the one that put it there. That if Tyree didn't catch it, at least his mask caught it, and he put it right there. Like, dumbass, you got to be able to hang on to this. That Manning pass that he threw in the sideline, that's a sick pass. An enormous pass and an enormous moment in the game. I know Eli had, some up and down moments in his career, especially the last half of his career that, he played on some bad teams that he needed help and you weren't helping him. You know what I mean? But I'm not going to take away from that man. And he's like 7th or 6th all time in touchdowns. And he played like few play in the Super Bowl, bro. Twice. Few guys you can point and say, man, those are monster throws and monster moments.
You compound that moment. Remember, he almost got sacked. He got grabbed, spun out, got hit by another guy, came away, got his feet underneath him, and fired the ball, dude.
Right.
It was amazing.
On target.
2 guys.
Yeah.
I through those tackles.
No way, man. I'm not doing that to Eli Manning. And I hope Giants fans embrace the crap out of him. I hope Giants fans thank him forever. I hope Giants fans buy him a beer every time they see him in a bar. Eli Manning deserves your respect, dude. Eli Manning this year, I give a lot of respect to the Maras in this sense. They wanted Eli to go out strong and then hand the keys to the kingdom to Daniel. But unfortunately, Eli could not do it because he just doesn't have it anymore. And he can't carry it. Like, he can still do some things, but he needs a lot of help at this point. And he could still be effective, don't get me wrong, but you need it's got to be a perfect situation for him now at this point. And there's not the mobility and all those other things that you need nowadays. And Daniel has some of that. But look how he handled all of this. He handled it with incredible class. At the end of the year, he takes Daniel out to a bar to go drink and have some fun, and he makes it rain and everything with a couple dollar bills. And, I mean, the amount of class that takes, because you know that's the kid they drafted to take your job. But he didn't look at it that way. He knows that it's not the kid's fault, but it's his job as a professional, as a leader. Remember what we talked about as a leader, being selfless, giving up of yourself to the betterment of others. That's what leaders do. And that's what he did. And I'm sure he helped Daniel Jones in as many things as possible. And for him to have that kind of moment with him at that bar, I just think that is just, it explodes with class. You know, it's just one of those things that I respect. I'm sorry. I just do. And so I'm not going to be short-sighted and look at the struggles that he had towards the back end of his career. I'm going to look at his total career. I'm going to look at when he was in the biggest moments of his career, how did he perform? And he performed at an elite level. And that's all I can ask my quarterback to do. And by the way, the last 5, 6, 7 years that he had either bad coaching, bad front office, not the right pieces around him, getting killed, getting sacked 4,000 times, never pointed a finger, never called out the head coach, never called out the general manager, never said, oh, these fans are booing me and they don't appreciate me. Nothing, dude. The entire time. I got nothing but respect for Eli Manning. I believe every professional should carry themselves like Eli. Okay? Maybe have a little bit more personality in that sense, but outside of that, that's the only knock I can have on him, that he's just old golly gee, guy. And the guy you saw making it rain in the bar with Daniel Jones, you didn't see a lot of that. And he has a little bit of that dry wit in him, but he just didn't really bring it out much. That's the only knock I could really have on him. I got nothing but respect for Eli Manning. And I hope they, retire his number. I hope they induct him. What is it, Ring of Honor or whatever? I don't know what they do with the Giants. Every team does something different. Honor roll, Ring of Honor, retirement. I don't know, whatever you're going to do. And
the ooh la la of the Giants.
And you know what? And he's a Hall of Famer. Maybe not a first ballot. Okay? All right? Because, he's not a Tom Brady, but, he's not Joe Montana, and those are the no-brainer first ballot type guys, but I'm putting Eli Manning in the Hall of Fame. Second, third, fourth go-around, but I'm putting him in. Okay? So that's how I feel about Eli Manning. And look, man, I'm a Dolphins fan. I think those of us that are Dolphin fans, we should have more appreciation than anyone, of what a real quarterback should be. Because we saw it for many years with Greasy and Marino, and we just haven't had it since. And I got no problem with that, man. I really don't. So, yeah, I'm an Eli Manning guy, and I say Hall of Famer. And if I'm a Giants fan, I'm saying thank you, Eli, for one great career, for 2 championships that we get to enjoy, and you were awesome in those games. You came through for your team and your fan base. That's the way I would go about it. Oh, respect Eli, but when he elite year in or out, Go Gators, respect Eli, but when was he elite year in and year out? Well, I don't know about elite, like he was an elite passer, but he's had good stats. He's had good years. I can pull him up if you want. Let me see here. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I would say that he had really good years, and then obviously the championship years too. Was he? I don't. But do you have to be the best of the best always in order to be the Hall of Fame, or can you be like a really good quarterback throughout your career and carry teams and win overall? Let me see. Let me pull up these stats, Ming. You might be right. Maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way. But I think he's had a Hall of Fame career. When you've thrown that many touchdowns, that many yards. And again, I think what's hurt his stats was the last few years. I don't know, what, 6, 7 years or whatever. It's been a really bad franchise. He has not, his offensive lines were absolutely terrible. And let me tell you something. Last year, with no offensive line, I could argue with you on this one, and I'll pull it up because I'm pretty sure of it. He had a really good stats last year. Here we go. Last year, Eli Manning, with no offensive line, threw for 4,299 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. 21 and 11 is not incredible, but 4,300 yards with that garbage team, and all of his receivers were injured last year. Do you remember that? I mean, he had almost no receivers last year, and he threw for 4,300 yards. He completed 66% of his passes last year. I don't know about you, my brother, but if you think about how bad the Giants were last year, that's elite. That's elite play in the worst scenario possible. Okay, now, let's go through some of this stuff here that you're talking about. We'll go touchdowns, interceptions first and foremost, okay? His rookie year, forget it, about 6 and 9. We'll skip that. All right, second year and on. Ready? 24 and 17, 24 and 18, 23 and 20. Then he started to improve. 21 and 10, 27 and 14, 31 and 25. That's bad. 29 and 16, 26 and 15, 18 and 27, 30 and 14, 35 and 14, 26 and 16, 19 and 13, 21 and 11, and then 6 and 5 this year. He threw 366 touchdowns, 244 interceptions overall. Completed 60% of his passes. He threw for 57,000 yards and 2 championships. I would understand what, you know what? I'll give you this. The numbers aren't elite. Have you ever watched Elway's numbers? Just have a little fun here with this.
You know what's one of the...
let me throw this. Hold on a second. Let me throw this for you. Rookie year, we'll throw it out, 7 and 14. You ready? 18-15, 22-23, 19-13, 19-12, 17-19, 18-18, 15-14, 13-12, 10-17, 25 and 10, 16 and 10, 26 and 14, 26 and 14, 27 and 11, and 22 and 10. He threw 300 touchdowns and 226 interceptions. Those numbers aren't elite either, man. On the back end, he has some really good years. But on the front half, I read them to you. But he's a Hall of Famer. Now, a different game then. You could mug the receiver a little bit more. They could fight for the ball more, all that stuff. You didn't have to be looking back for the football in order to fight for the football back in those days. Okay? So
there was bump and run, man.
Yeah. It was a little harder to play the game. It was a different game. Stats now cannot be compared to stats 10 years ago and 20 years ago, and especially 30 years ago. I mean, it's a whole different world. You know what I'm saying? But the numbers sometimes don't necessarily tell you that the guy, there's a reason why. Like I gave you Eli's stats last year. Eli's stats last year, considering how terrible the Giants were awesome. Awesome. in a terrible environment. But he doesn't get any credit for that. People just overlook it. Because think about it. Did you imagine that Eli Manning threw for 4,300 yards last year and a 66% completion percentage? Did you know that? Because that's elite. 21-11, that's not an elite thing. You want it, 3-1, not 2-1. But okay, whatever. But considering he had no receivers, he was 2-1 in touchdown to interception ratio. He threw for 4,300 yards and 66% completion percentage with no offensive line and no wide receivers. Are you kidding me? Come on, man. Give him a little love. Just a little bit. And this is where I end up running into this discussion with a lot of you sometimes. Stats don't tell you the whole story. That's why when you were, you look at Ryan Tannehill's things, the stats don't tell you what he really is because they're putting him in a position where he can succeed. They're trying to avoid the position where he would fail, which is in the Kansas City game. Same thing. So, no, I'm an Eli guy, and I say he's a champion and no doubt Hall of Famer in my book.
What is he, one game above 500 for his career?
Eli?
I think regular season. I think he's one game above 500, if I'm not mistaken.
I have to look it up here.
It was when he beat the Dolphins. He went into that game 500.
Okay, but I can't blame him for that.
It doesn't.
I can't blame him for that because if the team is bad and you're doing, like I said last year.
Yeah, you can't make up for the 10 other guys
Bro, the team sucked last year. He threw for 4,300 yards and 66% completion percentage.
I can't believe
21-11 with no line and no receivers.
It didn't seem like it was that good of a year.
No, it's a great year.
Yeah, it is.
That's an elite year with nothing around you. And you're old and broken down already. You can't move. The Statue of Liberty moves slightly better than Eli Manning. And the guy threw for 4,300 yards last year. I don't know what more you want from him.
So why is nobody in the NFL taking a chance with this guy?
Because you have to have the perfect situation.
For him to be able to plug in and play.
And those teams, Baltimore has their plan already. They're stuck with this kid, and they're going to try to make him a quarterback. And Tennessee would be the one. Tennessee would be the one, actually.
Well,
it has to be a scenario like that. You have to think of a scenario that's pretty close to complete.
And Henry is a free agent, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, but they're going to they'll franchise him.
I think that's pretty
if they don't sign him to a long-term deal, they'll franchise his ass because if not, then you better go get yourself a real quarterback.
No, there goes your whole offense.
Yeah.
There goes your whole offense.
You're done. Oh, your thoughts on baseball are spot on. It's like getting out. It takes time. Maybe diehard fans like me should be more open to change than keep it alive. I love baseball. I love baseball too, man. But what I'm frustrated is that they don't get it, bro. They don't get it. The sport gets worse and worse, and they don't even understand that. Big O, do you think the Dolphins need a running back, or do you think Balaj is more than capable? You're not being serious, are you? I think you have my answer on that one. Big O, I'm 20, so I can't argue with you on Elway. Oh, yeah. Well, here's the other thing for you 20-year-olds, okay, because I see it with these millennial writers and all that stuff. They lean on stats. And they think stats tell you everything. Watch the freaking games, man. Watch what actually happens. And there's a reason why some stats are good and some stats are bad and some stats are kind of shady. But there's a reason. Don't just take the stats as law. Because then you will then be fooled. Because a lot of you right now hear about those Eli Manning stats and you're like, holy crap, really, dude? Wow. And then I read the Elway stats. By the way, what'd you think of the Elway stats, Bill? Were you that impressed?
Look, I got to be honest.
All of a sudden now, where you're like, or are you like saying
you're sitting here running through the ratio of touchdown to interception?
Not impressive.
It's like the last 6 years, is where I got impressed. But before that, it was 50-50 right there.
He was an interception machine.
Not impressive at all.
Because he was a gunner. He would take chances.
Yeah, but you know what? If you're gonna, then Brett Favre was the same, but he doesn't have that.
But what happened at the end of his career, Doggy?
Oh no,
he got a real running back, and he got a defense. It wasn't Sammy Winder anymore.
There's no doubt that one Super Bowl, Terrell Davis.
The two Super Bowls.
Well, I'm saying the one Super Bowl.
No, two. Terrell.
I know he won two, but Terrell Davis won the one. It was all him. The other one was the defense.
Okay, yeah.
The defense was the primary player. Terrell Davis.
But Terrell was awesome in both. It was awesome in both. But yeah, you're right. I get what you're saying. The defense was special.
He was the premier running back.
But it's interesting how his numbers exploded once he got a team.
You know what, man? Unlike any other sport, and we talk about it, as the rain finally makes its appearance here.
Yes.
Several hours late, but it could have been even later. I would have been fine with that.
Yeah.
It's a situation where football is the ultimate team sport. It is. You could talk about look, we saw it with Marino. He had a great offense and 48 touchdowns and 5,800. Our defense was the worst.
Defense. Yeah.
Our defense got
no running game and no running game.
And no, you know what? The one
you know how hard it is to pass
without a running game?
When you know you can't do anything else?
Especially back in those days when, like you talked about,
you can
the
mug
secondaries
receivers.
Guys could mug them, literally.
Yeah.
That's why, look,
that's our
man, if Marino played today,
oh my Lord,
he would have over 400 yards every game.
Kill it,
and
bro.
4 touchdowns every game. Easily. There's no doubt in my mind. 404 touchdowns every game.
Yeah. He would have killed it in this league now. Oh, my Lord. Wow. But look, I read those Elway stats. A lot of you would say, he's not a Hall of Famer. If you read those stats, you got to watch the games. And you got to watch what kind of player he was and the things he would do out there. And sometimes you're surrounded by
exactly what you're talking about. The stat. Who was it? Kitna for Cincinnati, the Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
or Seattle. I don't know what you're talking about.
Stats, blah. Cincinnati. He was my backup quarterback. My starter went down. I won the Super Bowl.
When he had,
and it's because of the third and fourth quarter, they were so far down. It was prevent defense, and the guy would have 250 yards.
Yeah, because Kidna had like a year or two where he actually had like some decent seasons.
And all it was the third and fourth quarter was prevent defense, and the guy racked up touchdown. He had to have 3 touchdowns and 250 yards in the third and fourth quarter.
Yeah,
playing against prevent. They'd still lose by 14, 21, 17. But for fantasy purposes, man, it was great.
Our biggest problem in our society when it comes to sports is that not enough people actually watch the games, okay? And you just read the paper or just check the stats, and if you just go off of that and you think that tells you the whole story on how good or bad a player is, I mean, again, you had it right in your face. Do you really want Whiteside? You saw all kinds of stats from him, but did it look like they were winning stats? No. Because you can chase stats and not be as productive as you should be. And then again, you could also have modest stats and yet have an incredible impact on the team. You got to watch the games. Not enough media watch the games. Certainly not enough TV and radio people watch the games because I hear it. I can tell. And it happens just too often. And then we have a lazy thing is we just lean on the stats to tell us everything, and we go to Pro Football Focus, and whatever they say is gospel. And it just doesn't – because a left tackle graded out well because he didn't allow sacks this week against player A, and then the other left tackle gets the same grade because he didn't allow a sack against player A. The problem is one guy was facing the 47th ranked defensive end and the other guy was facing the number 1 defensive end. So are you tweaking your scoring? Because are you crediting the 2 tackles for the same effort when they didn't block the same player? Got to watch the game. Because the left tackle, if you notice, he struggles 3 or 4 times a year when he's faced against an elite pass rusher. When he's facing an average guy, he does a decent job. But then if you just look at the overall stats, you say, well, he did well 12 out of 4 games, so he's a good player. No. He's not that good. It's that he played well against poor teams, and in this schedule, he only faced 4 elite pass rushers. So if you're asking yourself, when you got to the playoffs, why did he suck? Oh, because he ran into another elite pass rusher. But no, they will grade him out in Pro Football Focus, an overall grade of a really good grade, but they didn't watch the games. Who did he specifically block? Who didn't? Who couldn't he block? You understand? It's again, we'll bring it back to these quarterbacks. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Ryan Tannehill. Hey, the running game's going great, and it's dominating. All 3 guys are looking good. The running game's not dominating, not looking good. It requires somebody to throw the ball a lot. All 3 guys aren't looking good. Watch the games. That's what I would tell you. Watch the effing games. Hey, Big O, there's a lot of empty calories stats these days. Social media and fantasy football caused many people to stop watching the games. You right, brother. 1,000% right. And I've always, over the years, and Bill knows that we do it all the time, there's fantasy and then there's reality. So when we're having a sports conversation, I'm going, are we talking fantasy or are we talking reality here? Okay? Because there's a huge difference. I need to know what we're talking about here. We're talking fantasy? Oh, okay. All right. Because there are certain players. You can win a championship with John Kitna in fantasy. In reality, you can have him, bro. You're all good. Just like all of you out there, Lamar Jackson. Did I ever buy the hype? At any point, did I ever buy the hype? No.
No, you were waiting for the fall.
I was waiting because it's going to happen because I know what he is.
No, as soon as Tennessee put 2 guys in the middle, 2 guys on the right and left of him and kept him in the pocket, that was it, man.
He's toast.
It was done.
He's not a passer. Not a passer. Neither is Josh Allen, neither is Ryan. It's just the way it is. It's not a hate thing. It's not. No, dude, show me that you can beat me with your arm, and then I'll believe you. Meanwhile, any of you guys out there, you want to fall for the stats, you want to fall for these gimmick BS offenses, go ahead, man. You want to run that stupid Buffalo offense or that Baltimore, go ahead. I told you that this wouldn't matter if they won the championship this year and they caught everybody off guard with it. They had their chance now. Baltimore ain't catching anybody off guard. It's now going to be downhill for Lamar Jackson. It doesn't get any better now. I want you to know that. Because now everybody knows what you're doing. Now everybody will be prepared. And now the people in your division will get the talent that they need in order to shut your ass down. It's not going to get any better, I don't believe, for Lamar. It gets worse. If and credit to him, he came out, he's such a great kid. He came out and said, I got to improve in everything, which is really not true. I credit him for that. He's got to improve as a passer. He's got to learn to stay in that pocket and beat people with his arm, his eyes, and his head. He's got to learn to make that read quickly. He's got to decipher it really fast, and he's got to be deadly accurate. And so far, he has never proven to me that he can do that. Neither is Josh Allen. Neither is Ryan Tannehill. Okay? So until that happens, those guys aren't beating anybody. And they can go with all that gimmick crap and run all that stuff and you can fall in love with all the stats. The reality is when you need a passer, those guys aren't going to come through.
Well, like you pointed out, we've said it a few times. The league is a copycat league.
Yep.
Once they got the film on you and they figure you out, guess what everybody else is going to do against you?
No doubt. Dougie Fresh says, Big O and Bill, vinyl music hall dates to consider. Eric Johnson, hell of a guitarist. and Blues Traveler. Only thing is, my brother, we'll see them down there. You know, I've seen Blues Traveler 100 times. Eric Johnson is coming down, and I just saw Eric Johnson about a year ago, actually, at the Parker Playhouse. So it's got to be something that we don't see here. Like British Lion did not come to South Florida. So when Bill and I saw that, we're like, whoa, really? Because they went Tampa, Orlando, and here. They didn't go to South Florida. So that's when you'll catch me back here for a concert in Pensacola. It'll be something that I cannot see in Miami. And hey, listen, it'll happen, Dougie Fresh. Trust me, it'll happen. It's just not those two bands that you brought up. But hey, thank you for looking out, brother. Appreciate it. And you better be at the Vinyl Music Hall the next time we go. Okay? Want to meet you. What else do we have here? Show me his wide receivers can catch passes. LOL. Who are we talking about? Which one are we talking about? Because they all caught passes. For Ryan, they caught passes. The A.J. Brown kid made him look great, and the tight end, Jonnu Smith, right? Is it Jonnu? Is it Smith? Why do I not think it's Smith? Why am I wrong? Why do I think I'm wrong? Well, anyway, Jonnu from FIU, they all caught passes. What, did they drop the pass? You got to find a way to overcome that, dude. Give me a break. That's excuses. Those are loser excuses. Okay? Everybody drops passes. You got to find a way to make another play. If that was your only shot, well, then that's too bad. You better find a way to overcome. So,
you know what? To reiterate stats, I'm sitting here thinking about it. Lamar did throw for like 360 yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns in the loss against Tennessee.
Well, and the run,
Tennessee didn't have like some special, incredible pass defense.
And the run, and he had 100-something running, but it was basically on 2 big plays, the one early in the game and the one late in the game. Outside of that, they kept him in check. You know what I mean? Because they can do they're going to do damage because you cannot stop it all the time. But once you can take a lead on them and you got to make Lamar play catch up, he's toast.
And you know what?
You can make excuses all you want from. The problem is that Tennessee and Baltimore lived a charmed life this year. Because of that running game, it allowed them to control the clock, control possessions, and have the lead. They didn't fall behind on a lot of teams, so they didn't have to do that. But then when you get to the playoffs and you fall behind, you're falling behind against a real quarterback. So then now's when you got to match them like a quarterback, not like a gimmick, which is what Lamar is. He's a gimmick. Josh Allen is a gimmick. That's what they are. They're not real QBs. Ryan Tannehill is a limited quarterback that lives off the run so he can have play action. But he can't beat you with his arm because he's not a real quarterback and never has been and never will be. So you guys can make, bro, I'm tired of excuses. That's all I ever hear for Ryan Tannehill for 8 years. That's all I'm hearing now for Lamar because he came up short. You could talk about his drop passes, boy, but you conveniently leave out all the missed shots too because he sailed a bunch of balls too, or they were short or sailing it over them.
I can remember a couple in the end zone.
Of course, please.
And I mean, it's like, Jesus, this guy's throwing it into the crowd.
Give me a break.
Not even anywhere near the back end line of the goal line. It's sailing it into the crowd.
Brandon Flood, who's making excuses for him, conveniently leaves out the misses. That's the same thing with Ryan. It's the same thing I heard for years. The people that made excuses for Ryan didn't really call the reality of it. So none of those guys are real quarterbacks. And until proven otherwise, that's the way I'm going to look at it. That's why I expected the other shoe to fall on Josh Allen, on Lamar, and on Ryan. Because they were as scripted, bro. Scripted. The second they ran into a real quarterback and their team couldn't be the difference maker, they were toast. Because they're not individually the difference makers with this. Because they can't be.
Let me throw this at you, Will. Obviously, Lamar worked very hard the previous offseason to get his accuracy, get his passing game. And what was he, 36 and 6?
Yeah,
touchdown interception.
Great touchdown interception ratio.
I mean, let's translate the work that he did last year. He does it again this offseason. Does the guy have a shot?
I need to see it. Bill, I have never seen a guy that was inaccurate in college
suddenly
become accurate in the NFL. You are what you are in college, you will be in the NFL. If you weren't a passer in college, I don't believe you'll be a passer in the NFL.
You wake up one morning and suddenly you got the golden arm and you're reading defenses and you're finding open guys.
Russell Wilson didn't learn how to pass in the NFL. He was passing his ass off in North Carolina and then went to Wisconsin and took them to the Rose Bowl. Okay, he was a quarterback already. He just happens to have athleticism and uses it to his advantage. But it's rare, guys and ladies out there that are listening and watching. It's very rare that you run into a quarterback that was inaccurate in college and wasn't a passer and all of a sudden becomes a passer in the NFL. It just doesn't happen, man. It's so rare. It's so impossible. Put it this way, so far the example doesn't exist. Do you realize that? That the guy that was inaccurate in college still becomes inaccurate in the NFL. They just don't become accurate. Nobody can name one guy. Every time I have that conversation, I have it with NFL people. And I tell them, please name me the guy that was inaccurate in college and became accurate in the NFL. It doesn't exist. If you're not a passer, you'll never be a passer.
That's a really bad ratio. None of them.
Think about it.
Proof that's not.
Think about it. You're in your 50s. Think about the guy that was spraying it around in college and then all of a sudden became deadly accurate and was a passer in the NFL. Doesn't happen.
No.
Just doesn't happen. You are what you are.
Yeah.
You're Chad Henne for 4 years. You will be Chad Henne in the NFL. Can't do anything about it. Michael Vick was Michael Vick in the NFL. He never became accurate. 1 year Andy Reid got him to 62, which is not even good enough anyway, but it's solid. It was a good year for him.
Well, back then, no. Back then it was different.
But no,
62 was a decent season.
But it was one season. Outside of that, he was always in the 50s. Because he was never going to be a great passer.
By today's standards, you have to be
mid
to upper 60s minimum.
Yeah. Now minimum. You have to be in the mid-60s for sure.
Yep.
Guaranteed. No less than that because it's a lot easier to pass now. But I'm just saying it just doesn't happen. You think about it in time. You're Jay Schrader, you're Jay Schrader. You're Jake Plummer, you're Jake Plummer. No, nothing changes.
No, I have to point out, like you said.
You're Culpepper, you're Culpepper. Culpepper was never accurate. He's just a big athlete with a big arm. And then Minnesota was smart. They went and got Jake Reed. They got Chris Carter, and they got Randy Moss, guys with incredible range. So he threw it. And then the second he lost his athleticism with his knee, he was useless. He came to Miami, and he couldn't be a quarterback because he was never a quarterback. He was never a passer. Because if you're a passer, you don't need a knee. Get it? But Culpepper needed that knee because he needed mobility. You are what you are. It doesn't change. All of these guys, they are the same guy in college that they are in the NFL.
Man, talking about Culpepper, I remember the first thing that it was like put him on the map. You remember UCF is playing Florida State.
Yes.
And right before the half, he rolls out to his right at the 50 and throws back across his body 50-something yards and hits the guy. And UCF is up by 14. I think it was 28-14. And we're all like, did you see that pass? Oh, my God.
Didn't he have a good game against, like, Nebraska that year, too,
yes,
right?
Yes, it was it probably was Nebraska. There was 2 games. Yeah. But that put him on the map. I think it was his junior year or whatever it was.
I mean, he's a freak.
Yeah.
The guy was a freak.
Oh, I can remember.
But he was not a real quarterback.
I remember
he was
his
an
first
athlete
game
with the ball in his hands.
When he got into the game, it was against the Bears. And first and goal from the 8 or 9 yard line, and the guy went up the middle. And it was like, man, if he gets past your defensive line, Your linebacker's 40 pounds. He's 280, 290 pounds. The guy is 40 pounds heavier than your linebacker.
Yep.
And literally, carry the linebackers into the goal line.
Yeah.
5 yards out.
Yeah. So that,
and like you said, athleticism. We were wowed. But a passer, a quarterback.
But all these guys get intoxicated with the athleticism, and then they think that they're going to make that athleticism a quarterback. And that's just not the case, ladies and gentlemen. It's just not going to happen that way. You're not going to make them quarterbacks. You can try all you want, but you're Pat White, man. You're not going to become a great quarterback at the next level.
Are you trying to set records, man?
Why?
You know you've been at it for 53 minutes.
All right.
Are you trying to set some kind of new Big O standard of continuous talking?
Big O, as someone who has seen pro athletes and musicians destroy themselves, are these the same phenomenon? Self-destruction seems to need more attention to keep their icons alive. Yeah, maybe. It may be with AB is what you're saying. Yeah, maybe the attention, he needs it in a bad way.
He might be right, spot on, because he was all proud about him being the most Googled athlete in 2019. That totally correlates and makes sense.
Yep. It's raining again. There you go. There you go. Look. The RVs are starting to pull in. You can see it back there. You see them over there? This place will be loaded with RVs on Saturday. You know they're hardcore if they're here on a Thursday to get their spot, okay, for Saturday. I mean, it's just look. It's just. I'm sure they're driving in now.
Hey, there's like a arm. Like you could see the 2 or 3 that are out there.
No. There's like a lot
20.
More.
There's 20 of them that we can't see because of the stands.
Yeah, because they were over by the highway, parked. They were there since like Monday. They get a spot and a number, and then they're able to come in. It's crazy. So yeah, that's how they're already preparing. But see, it's raining. I don't know how much you guys can see. Oh yeah, you can. You can see it there. That's good. There you go. That's the Lad Peebles Stadium. So they moved the players today. Unfortunately, we are not getting the players here. We're not going to be able to watch practice because they took them indoors. There's a lot of money on that field, so they got to protect the money. You know what I'm saying? Protect that, and that's the right thing to do. It really is. Let me tell you about VSS West Pines. Whether we're talking about the Jose's out there, one Jose or Jose 2.0, of course, and Nugs is what you can call them too. Sasha, the responsible one, Alex, Tommy, everybody out there at VSS West Pines, we appreciate them so much. Great sponsors of our program. Let me tell you something. If you're looking for rolling your own for the cigarillos, baby, a wide variety from the raw papers to smoking, which is a really popular brand now, hookahs, all price ranges from $19.99 and up. They've got the Khalil Mamoon, the Egyptian-made one. They've got it there too. CBD, I got to tell you, they've got it all. Flour, tinctures, edibles, chocolates, gummies, jelly beans, ice cream, transdermal patches. You name it, they got it at VSS West Pines. Tell them that Big O sent you. Please mention our name there at VSS West Pines. From dry herb vaporizers, cleaners, VSS West Pines on Instagram and Facebook, and on the website, vsswestpines.com.